the Supreme Court has overturned the 40-year-old Chevron defense doctrine, which, obviously everybody talks about at the dinner table on a nightly basis. But it is super important to how the government functions and how government rules and regulations survive court cases. And it's been going on, it's been this way for 40 years, from back during the Reagan era. And basically now it is going to be harder for executive agencies to tackle a wide array of different policy areas: environmental regulations, health regulations, labor regulations, employment laws, privacy, tech. I mean, you name it. It has now become significantly easier for corporate interests or some lone red state AG to knock down entire laws, entire regulatory frameworks, executive orders and decisions. That's the effect of it. It was created way back in 1984. It has since become the most cited Supreme Court decision in administrative law. And the reason I want to point that out is there is nothing, no matter how old, no matter how cited, no matter how many times built upon, that counts as precedent if the conservative Supreme Court that we have right now doesn't like it. It simply doesn't matter if you've had certain rights for a half century. If they can get rid of it, they will get rid of it. And that's what they're doing here. And basically, to understand the wonkiness of it, what the Chevron deference was courts would generally, under this for 40 years, defer to how expert federal agencies interpret the laws they're charged with implementing, provided that their reading is reasonable, even if it's not the only way that the law can be interpreted. Basically, rather than having a judge be the one who makes the call on something that might be highly technical about health or the environment or technology or whatever, you defer, unless it's clearly insane, to the experts, and they don't have to do that right now. And as an example, because this might seem abstract, it was last April that a Texas district judge decided unilaterally the FDA's 23-year-old approval of an abortion drug, no, they got it wrong. It's not safe. Because I say as a judge that it's not safe. I'm not a doctor, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I say that it's not safe. That is the sort of thing that is supposed to be avoided under Chevron deference. And now you can have that sort of thing constantly, because as in so many other areas of our media and our education and all of that, expertise no longer counts for much. Any other thoughts, Brett?
These are activist judges
100%
doing the thing that is the only thing the think tanks who put them there care about. They say they don't like regulation because it's too much. It's like, no, they want to allow giant corporations to kill kids with pollution and with any other kind of, basically do whatever they want. And they just got it. And these folks are like, let's get back to our heroes, the Reagan and our friggin' back in the day of Nixon. Well, Nixon created the EPA. Reagan's era was this doctrine.
Yeah.
They don't care about that. They just want to do unfettered free market capitalism. Unfettered anything is really bad except for unfettered people. We want people to be free, and they're going to fetter women when they're pregnant and make them, give birth to babies they don't want to give birth to, and then go inside their body and get rid of their freedom. And the only person they care about making free is a bloodthirsty business person who wants to pollute a river because it gives them 0.25% more yield for their shareholders, and thus makes them exceed their threshold so they can get their big payout in their contract.
And they need that because rather than having more money in an investment account than they could ever spend their entire life, they want a little bit more money than they could ever spend in their entire life. And that is the critical thing. You have to have even more money that you'll never be able to spend. But anyway, I also want to mention, we only have a couple of minutes, but there had been the consideration of the town of Grants Pass, which decided, no, we just will not allow unhoused people to be anywhere within the bounds of our town. We're not gonna make enough shelter beds available, but whatever, who cares? You literally can't go anywhere. And the Supreme Court took that up, and we didn't know exactly how they would rule, although we worried. And in a 6-3 decision, they decided that, yeah, you can effectively just choose an entire geographic area, and you cannot not own housing in that area. If you don't, you have to get out. And it's Grants Pass, and lots of other areas are certainly looking. And so there'll be towns and there will be cities, and maybe there will be some entire states that will pass something like this. And so that's absolutely horrendous. Often we just end at this point, but I don't want to just end. Every one of these is devastating, and it serves no one to just ignore that these things are happening. But there is things that we can do about this. The Supreme Court is able to do what it's doing because they won presidential elections and they got Supreme Court justices. Well, that works both ways. And if we win in 2024 and we can affect the chances of that by making some good choices over the next 2 months or so, then we can replace some of the worst members of the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas and Alito are not super young. They're not spring chickens. They will eventually need to be replaced. And I would much prefer a Biden or a Biden replacement to do that replacing than allowing Donald Trump. And we can allow maybe Sotomayor or one of the other libs on the court to be able to retire without worrying about having some sort of Christian fascist take their spot. It is going to be a very difficult years or decades long process to retake the Supreme Court, but it is doable, it is conceivable. And then we can benefit from a variety of decisions like this, except, reasonable and founded in an accurate understanding of the Constitution and possessing at least a shred of compassion and all of that. That is achievable, and we can work towards that together. Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.